Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Men and Sex. I'm your host, Mr. Wood. This podcast is all about normalizing some of the most taboo conversations. Here we talk about sex, we talk about intimacy, we talk about masturbation, we talk about porn, we talk about the things that there are very little spaces to talk about in a mature way. And on this episode, we are going to be diving deep into a specific topic, one of my favorite topics, and I've never really woven it together into relationship and particularly intimacy, sexuality, connection in the bedroom. Now, this is a subject that I have obsessed over the last 3 years, and it's something that I bring into a lot of my different practices, whether it's working one-on-one with people or in group containers or just creating recorded trainings. This is the background and the ideology of internal family systems, also known as parts work. And there is a rich history with internal family systems and parts work. I'm going to talk all about it. We're going to dive into it. But ultimately, I want to connect this all to our sex life. How internal family systems supports us in the most fulfilling, satisfying, pleasurable, enjoyable sex lives. Now, if you haven't heard this yet, anywhere else or from myself, it needs to be said. Sexuality is much more than a physical act. Sexuality is an act that involves every aspect of us. Yes, it is a physical act. It requires our bodies to do certain things, but it's also psychological. There's a lot going on with the mind. It is emotional and it is spiritual. Everything is happening in intimacy, and that's why it's such a potent place for us to learn and develop as men. Now, internal family systems is something that was created by a man named Richard Schwartz, and he was a family therapist. So he worked with families. And what he started to notice was the way people were talking about their thoughts and their emotions. He was realizing that people had like an internal family inside of them, that there were different roles and different parts speaking in different experiences. And it's pretty easy to see that in most situations, I can be aware of a part that feels one way and a part that feels another way. In men's work and sitting with men all over the world, I hear men check in all the time, which is what they're feeling in their emotions. And it's pretty much the norm when a man checks in, he can become aware of a multitude of feelings. Feeling happy, feeling sad, I'm feeling afraid, I'm feeling ashamed. And all of these parts are connected to different stories, different experiences, and it's going to create a different experience inside of the body. Um, there are three core tenets in internal family systems that I want to go over, but I want you to know that in the description, I'm going to link it's my collection in YouTube that I've created of other people talking about internal family systems and parts work. Some of them actually have Richard Schwartz, but it's like if you want to get a little deep dive deeper than this podcast episode, I'll have that linked in the description. And I've got some of the books on the shelf. One of my favorite books is No Bad Parts. And when it comes to relationship, one of the best books you can read is You Are the One You've Been Waiting For, and read it with your partner. Profound. Changed my life forever. We'll dive into some more of that here in a little bit. Some of the key aspects of internal family systems is that it's changing the understanding of us as humans, and it's saying we are a multiplicity. Instead of like, I am Ian, I have a singular identity. There is one thinker in here. It's like this idea that I am just Ian as one thing. And it's saying, no, I am Ian. I am a multitude. This is Ian's hand. This doesn't make up all of Ian. This is Ian's brain. This doesn't make up all of Ian. And it breaks it down. even further than just the body parts. And it's like, okay, there are different parts of me and how I interact with the world, how I perceive the world. There are younger parts. This is what has been known for so long when people talk about the inner child. There's not one inner child. There are many inner children that have been created in the psyche through the lifespan. So parts work is there's a multitude of you. There are a multitude of parts in you. And how he broke it down is there are managers, firefighters, and exiles. So if you think of a manager in men's personal development, we talk about the risk manager. When a man is out to do an emotional process, we'll talk about, hey, you got to be aware if his risk manager shows up, which is a part of his brain that isn't going to allow him to go deeper into his emotions. So managers are about control of the world, control of others to mitigate being exposed, being vulnerable, anything like that. Now, I'm touching like the surface level of parts work. We could talk about parts work for days. So, uh, dive deeper in books in everything else, but I'm going over the surface here. The next is firefighters. That's the quick reactivity. I think a lot of anger is a representation of a firefighter. It's like the fight or flight aspect showing up in behavior, showing up in mind, showing up in the emotions. And the exiles, which I think is when people talk about inner child work, what they're mostly pointing to is the exiles, which is the more soft, vulnerable parts of ourselves, the sad parts of ourselves, the afraid parts of ourselves. Those end up getting the most buried to not be seen, particularly with men. They're the most hidden. There's managers that are performing and behaving certain ways so that people don't get to the exiles, the more vulnerable parts. Um, these are the parts of our minds and our emotions that are more protected. If you've ever been made fun of, if you've ever been teased, if there's any feeling of not enoughness, that's more in the territory of exiles. Now, how does this and how does this connect to sexuality? As I said earlier in the episode, sexuality is a total experience. And it's not talked about enough how much sexuality hits these vulnerable parts of us and how it can activate firefighters, managers, and hit the exiles. Because sex is a representation of approval. There are so many men out in the world chasing sex to feel validation over and over and over and over again. I know because it's been me. There are still parts of me that exist that do this. Someone having sex with you is one of the most validating things that exist in the human experience. And it's more than just the mind. It's like it's a felt thing. You allow me to put myself into you. And the problem with not having an understanding of parts work or how the mind and emotions are involved in this is, there's all these men out in the world pretending that it's just a physical experience, completely unaware of all the games that they're playing with themselves as they chase and chase and chase and conquer and conquer and conquer, but never feel fulfilled because they're missing a huge piece of what's happening. Um, One of the greatest realizations for me in parts work when it comes to relationship is was realize through parts work and through like internal so parts work and internal family systems is a lot about meeting these parts inside of ourselves. And parts work teaches about the capital S self. The capital S self. And this is basically, in simple terms, the witness consciousness. So the part of you that can witness the thoughts and the emotions, you know, the part of you that's being trained in meditation to observe, say in your mind right now, hello. The part of you that is aware of hello being thought, that's the witness consciousness. That's the capital S self. And parts work really allowed me to see that I'm not present a lot with myself. I'm usually lost in the thoughts. The thoughts have taken me into the thoughts are just like going, and I'm lost in them. Like being a character in a movie instead of watching the movie. Like imagine if you were watching the movie and you actually lost your mind in the movie and you like thought you were a character in it. And you're like actually in the scene and you're looking around and you're like, oh, the red curtains and oh, da, da, da. To pop out, it would be like, whoa, no, I'm watching the movie. I'm not the character here. That's similar to the experience of realizing like I am not the thoughts being thought. And this is incredibly important for intimacy and relationship because it's so easy to be taken over by thoughts. So easy to be hijacked. One of the best ways that this has been shown in simplicity are in the children's movies Inside Out 1 and Inside Out 2. If you haven't watched them, I highly recommend that you watch them. It is parts work. They are in the little girl's mind with all the little different parts, fear, anger, joy, and they're all like battling for the controls of her brain. And that's what's going on is these different parts hijack our minds and our thoughts, but we're not aware that it's happening. And this can create a lot, if not the lion's share, the majority of problems in relationship, particularly in sexuality. There are so many things, so much drama that's created from things unsaid, but misinterpreted or interpreted by parts. And, you know, when it comes to really having a fulfilling experience in the bedroom, the most fulfillment that can be experienced is by being present, not by being hijacked by a part, not being lost in thoughts, but being present with sensation and pleasure in the body. Men that teach about sexuality, they often talk about multiple orgasms, non-ejaculatory orgasms. These are like the golden carrots that are, put in front of our noses with most sex teachers. And it's really only possible through presence that you start to work with the sensations. What is the experience of pleasure? It's sensations in the body. Why does ejaculation feel so good? It's a cascade of chemistry, waves of sensation throughout the body. And the key to the best sex life is really being with sensation in the body. Um, to in relationship is a great place to become aware of parts of you. Now, Joe Dispenza is one of my favorite teachers. He has a term that I really love, and that is objectification of behavior. That I become more and more aware of my own behavior. And I kind of like in the same thing of like pulling out of the movie, I no longer associate that I am the behavior. I start to witness the behavior. Let's say, here's a perfect example. If you're going into an intimate experience, if you're in the bedroom with someone and they close their eyes and they don't make any noise, that most likely will bring up a part in you. what part will come up for you is dependent upon each person. One person might go into performance anxiety and go, "Oh, they're not having a good time. They like I've got to do better." And so then they go into performer, which is like a manager. She's like, okay, how can I do better? Oh, I'm gonna do this move. I'm gonna do this move. I'm gonna do this move. Another person might actually get angry. This might be more of a firefighter. And so they might get angry and start to like give it to them harder and like be more aggressive with them and like tell them to open their eyes or something like that. Um, there's all of these experiences that are happening in the bedroom that we are having an impact on the interpretation. If, there are experiences in the bedroom that can happen and will be interpreted in a multitude of ways. It's not just the experience that matters, it's our interpretation of it. And this is where we start to become aware of parts. When I start to pay attention to my own behavior in certain circumstances, what does it bring up? Anger, sadness, fear, shame. Shame is such a prominent one. I'm not good enough. I can't do it right. I'm not worthy. But as men, what's crazy is we've been taught to perform and pretend. We've been taught to puff up and act as, you know, fake it till you make it. Just try to act big and try to act like, yeah, I've got it all figured out. I have no weaknesses. But inside, there's just like a shitload of insecurities and shame that are going on in there that the mind will like dissociate from and make it harder for you to be aware of. The mind is incredibly complex. And sexuality and intimacy is a great place to become aware of ourselves. Now, we talked about some basic understandings of parts in internal family systems, firefighters, managers, exiles. One of the most important things about connecting with the capital S self is like being present and being curious. That's how it's a good clue that I'm in my capital S self when I'm curious. Huh, interesting. I see that I'm really angry right now. There's parts of me that are really angry right now. What is the story they're saying? Oh, that person shouldn't have done that to me. Oh, they are, they're wrong. Whatever stories and judgments are there. But being curious about what's going on in here and what's going on in here. Emotion, what we call emotion, is the mind's like interpretation of things that we're feeling in the body and in the thoughts. Emotion is the bridge between mind and body. Um, with internal family systems and like at a beginner level, it's just starting to become aware of your multiplicity, that you have many different parts of you. And a lot of them will show up in intimate relationship and in partnership and in sexuality. It's like how you show up in the bedroom is uniquely you. The way that a certain thing happens and your thoughts and your behaviors that ripple out of it, there's so much juice in there. There's so much to learn from there. Here's a great example of collective, like a collective of parts in men. And that is what the book written No More Mr. Nice Guy. No More Mr. Nice Guy is a book that points to parts that exist in a lot of different men. These are most likely going to be managers. They're the performers. They're trying to control the outside world and what's experienced internally from that. And the best way to do that is to act certain ways, to have certain behaviors, to avoid confrontation, that is a part. And all the men that are labeled as Mr. Nice Guys, they're going to have unique different parts within that mix up of being a Mr. Nice Guy. And this is why parts are so important. Like, even though a man is a Mr. Nice Guy, he can probably tap into versions of himself that are not nice, that are actually really mean and or could inflict pain or hurt on other people. But the predominant of parts are performing as a Mr. Nice Guy. Now, as I said, we could talk about this for a long time, and if you're interested, as I said, I put a link in the description to watch these videos. But ultimately, the thing that I want you to walk away with the most from this episode is to understand that your relationship to sexuality and your relationship to people is one of the best places for you to get curious about your parts and get to know how information comes into your senses from the outside world and it brings forward different characters, if you will. Like just think about characters in a movie and think about how that there's different characters in your head and there's different personalities that you have. And just start to be curious about how you can learn and discover them. And if this sounds crazy to you, like I get it, I get how it can sound crazy, but just like go see for yourself. Or even in this moment, tap into like, can you tap into a part of you that wants something? Let's say a part of you that wants to make more money, or a part of you that wants to have more sex. Like, I'm sure you could tap into a part of you that wants more of something. And at the same time, I'm sure you could tap into a part of you that doesn't want that thing, that doesn't want more money, that there's a fear that something may happen. If I make more money, this would happen. I wouldn't have a life. I would have to pay more in taxes. I would be greedy. Like, I'm sure you could tap into a part that wants that thing and doesn't want that thing. And the same with sex. I'm sure there's a part of you that wants more sex, but you could also, if you curiously looked, find a part of you that doesn't want more sex. And this dichotomy is just one of the easiest ways. It doesn't have to be money or sex. You could do it with food, with hobbies, with uh, your home. Like you can just tap into a part of you that wants the one thing and a part of you that wants another thing. And this is just a simple example to open you up to understanding that there is a multiplicity of you. Um, this is key when it comes to a fulfilling sex life because what this will actually call you and require of you is to build emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is being self-aware, being able to observe, being able to articulate what it is that you're feeling, both the sensations that are there and the thoughts that are connected to it. Um, your ability to speak to your emotions is a skill that is developed, and looking at parts and learning about parts is one of the best ways to do that. And why does this equate to uh, a better sex life? When you are less reactive to the outside world and your parts are making less of a problem of what's happening, what the other person is doing, and the inner world is making less of a mess of that, then you have more ability to just be present and enjoy the experience because your mind is taking you over less. So, I know this is a deep subject. Like I said, there's a whole video series that I have tagged in the description you can watch. And um, if this is something you want to dive into more deeply, is like getting to know yourself through your relationship to sexuality, just come join the community. You can hop on weekly coaching calls with me and my father, and we can dive even more into this part's perspective. We can dive more deeply into emotional intelligence because your relationship to sexuality is an opportunity for you to learn and grow and become more potent as a man instead of shrinking and spiraling down because of what's going on in your mind and its interpretation and relationship with other people. So, parts work, internal family systems, multiplicity, not just one singular stagnant being, firefighters, managers, exiles, the ability to be self-aware and not taken over by parts so that you can be more present for the sensations in your body, the pleasure, work with your breath, work with movement, work with sound, work with touch, and cascade the pleasure through your body instead of being stuck in your brain. And in that place, the pleasure is just stuck in your genitals. And it can either, you know, create coming too early, going soft, or just not feeling the full potential that's there for you because all the pleasure is just in your genitals and you are just stuck in your head. So, this is the Men and Sex podcast. Many more episodes to come. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments or reach out to me directly. I'm telling you, there is nothing more rich than this topic when it comes to being an individual, particularly when it comes to relationship. So I encourage you to dive in. I will most likely do another episode on this. So enjoy.